Hello there. Come in, sit down for a moment. I want to talk to you about something incredibly important today. Something that touches the very core of who we are, our memories. I want to tell you about a gentleman I know, a kind man we'll call Arthur. Arthur was a storyteller. He could recount every detail of his time in the service, the day he met his wife, the birth of his first grandchild. His memories were his treasures, but then things started to change. Subtly at first, he'd lose his keys, which we all do. But then he started struggling to recall the name of his favorite actor, or the plot of the movie he'd watched just last night. His family noticed he was telling the same stories over and over, sometimes just minutes apart. Arthur chalked it up to just getting older, a common and dangerous assumption. But in his case, and in the case of so many others I have seen in my practice, there was a silent contributor to this fading of his vibrant mind, a secret saboteur hiding in plain sight on his breakfast plate nearly every single morning. He believed he was starting his day with a hearty traditional meal, but in reality, with each bite, he was unintentionally consuming something that clinical studies now strongly suggest can accelerate the very memory loss he was beginning to fear. He was eating a specific type of meat, a breakfast staple for millions of Americans, that was contributing to the slow erosion of his cognitive function, his independence, and his most precious memories. What is this meat, and why is it so particularly damaging to the senior brain? Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on this common breakfast food. We're going to talk directly about the mistake millions of well-meaning seniors are making every single day, a mistake that could be costing them their cognitive vitality. Stay with me, because understanding this is one of the most powerful steps you can take to protect your mind, safeguard your independence, and ensure your memories remain clear and sharp for all the years to come. It's good to be talking about this with you today. As we dive deeper, if you find this kind of practical health information helpful for yourself or for someone you love, perhaps take a moment right now to give this video a quick like and click that subscribe button just below. It's a simple, free way to stay connected with our community and to ensure you always get our latest advice for living a healthier, more vibrant life after 60. The meat I am talking about, the one that sat on Arthur's plate every morning, is processed breakfast meat. This includes bacon, breakfast sausages, cured ham, and even many popular deli meats like bologna or salami that find their way onto breakfast sandwiches. I know this might be difficult to hear. For many of us, the smell of bacon sizzling in a pan is the scent of Saturday mornings, of family, of comfort. But I am asking you today to look past the nostalgia and see these foods for what they are from a neurological and biological perspective. These are not just simple sources of protein, they are highly processed products that contain specific compounds that can act like a slow-acting poison on your brain's delicate architecture. The primary culprits here are chemicals called nitrates and nitrites. These are preservatives used to cure the meat, to give it that characteristic pinkish color, and to prevent the growth of harmful bacteria. While they make the meat last longer on the shelf, the cost to your long-term health, particularly your brain health, can be immense. When you eat these nitrates, a chemical reaction happens inside your body, especially in the acidic environment of your stomach. They can convert into nitrosamines, which are potent pro-inflammatory compounds. Think of inflammation as a fire inside your body. A little bit of inflammation is good. It's how your body heals from an injury. But chronic, low-grade inflammation, the kind fueled by a steady diet of these processed foods, is a destructive inferno. This fire doesn't stay in your stomach. It spreads throughout your entire system via your bloodstream, and one of the places it does the most damage is in the brain. Your brain is protected by a very special barrier, the blood-brain barrier. You can imagine it as a dedicated security guard, carefully checking the ID of everything that tries to enter your brain's territory. Chronic inflammation, however, can weaken this security guard. It makes the barrier more permeable or leaky. This allows inflammatory molecules and other harmful substances, including the nitrosamines themselves, to cross over into the sacred space of your brain. Once inside, these compounds can wreak havoc. They generate something called oxidative stress. Take a moment to close your eyes and visualize this. Imagine an apple, freshly sliced, sitting on your kitchen counter. Within minutes, its white flesh begins to brown. That browning is oxidation. It's a process of decay and breakdown. A very similar process can happen inside your brain cells when they are exposed to high levels of oxidative stress. The nitrosamines from processed meats are like fuel for this internal rusting process. They damage the fats that make up your brain cell membranes. They damage the proteins that cells use to communicate. And they can even damage the DNA inside the cell's command center, the nucleus. This damage is particularly devastating to the hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped region of your brain that is absolutely critical for forming new memories and retrieving old ones. It's the brain's own librarian. When the library is on fire from inflammation and its books are slowly rusting from oxidative stress, you can understand why it becomes so difficult to file away new information or find the stories you're looking for. This is what was happening to Arthur. His daily breakfast was fanning the flames of inflammation and accelerating the rusting of his brain's memory center. Let me tell you about another person I consulted with, a wonderful woman named Eleanor. Eleanor was fiercely independent. She lived alone, managed her own finances, and prided herself on her sharp wit. But she came to me because she was terrified. She'd recently gotten lost driving home from the grocery store, a route she had taken for over 30 years. She had what she described as a whiteout moment, a complete blank. It passed, and she found her way, but the fear lingered. When we went through her diet, we found the same pattern, a breakfast sausage patty every morning, just for the protein, she'd say. The link between processed meat consumption and cognitive decline is not just theoretical, it's being documented in major scientific studies. Research published in journals like the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has shown that higher intakes of processed meats are associated with a significantly increased risk of developing dementia. One study followed nearly 500,000 people and found that consuming just a small 25-gram serving of processed meat per day, that's less than a single slice of bacon or one small sausage link, was associated with a staggering 44% increased risk of dementia. These aren't just numbers on a page. They represent real people like Arthur and Eleanor, watching their worlds shrink as their memories fade. Each mouthful of that processed breakfast meat can be a vote for this struggle or a vote for strength. The choice begins the moment you understand the hidden danger. Now, it's not just the meat itself. The problem is magnified tenfold by how we cook it. This brings us to the second major issue, the creation of advanced glycation end products, or AGs. That's a very scientific-sounding term, but the concept is simple and critically important. AGs are harmful compounds that are formed when proteins or fats are cooked at high temperatures, especially with dry heat. Frying, grilling, broiling, or roasting, the very methods we almost always use to cook bacon and sausage, are giant factories for producing AGs. When you see that sausage patty browning in the pan, or the edges of a piece of bacon getting dark and crispy, you are witnessing the creation of massive quantities of these toxic compounds. What do these AGs do? They are, in essence, agents of stiffness and aging. Think about what happens when you toast a piece of soft white bread. It becomes brown, stiff, and brittle. That's glycation at work. Now imagine that same stiffening process happening to the tissues inside your body. AGs get into your bloodstream and start to cross-link with proteins, making flexible tissues rigid. They stiffen your blood vessels, which can raise your blood pressure and force your heart to work harder. This is a direct link to heart health, another cornerstone of senior wellness. A stiff, overworked cardiovascular system is less efficient at pumping oxygen-rich blood to the brain, further starving it of the resources it needs to function. They stiffen the collagen in your skin, leading to wrinkles. They stiffen the cartilage in your joints, which can worsen the pain and immobility of arthritis. This is a key point. The food you eat for breakfast can directly impact how much your knees and hips ache when you try to get out of your chair. But most terrifyingly, these AGs accumulate in the brain. We know from studies, some of which were published in the Journal of Gerontology, that higher levels of AGs in the body are directly linked to faster cognitive decline and the progression of Alzheimer's disease. In fact, scientists have found that the brains of people with Alzheimer's have significantly higher concentrations of these compounds, particularly in and around the amyloid plaques and tau tangles that are the hallmark of the disease. These AGs contribute to that same oxidative stress and inflammation we talked about with nitrates. They are a double punch. So that sizzling pan of bacon is producing nitrosamines from the preservatives and AGs from the high heat cooking. It's a perfect storm of brain-damaging compounds served up on a single plate. Think about it this way. Your body is a remarkable machine, but it has its limits. When you are young, your body has robust antioxidant and detoxification systems to clean up this metabolic junk. But as we age, especially over 60, these systems naturally become less efficient. We simply can't clear out these toxins as effectively as we used to. So a breakfast that a 30-year-old might get away with becomes exponentially more dangerous for a 70-year-old. The damage accumulates much faster, like a slow drip leak that suddenly turns into a flood. Eleanor, who was struggling with those frightening memory lapses, also complained of terrible morning stiffness in her hands. She thought it was just arthritis, but it's highly likely that the massive daily influx of AGs from her fried sausage patty was contributing to both problems simultaneously, stiffening the joints in her fingers and stiffening the vital tissues in her brain. It's a silent saboteur that attacks the body on multiple fronts, compromising mobility, cognitive function, and the very independence that she held so dear. We've covered some important ground already, and there's more helpful information to come. If you're finding value in understanding how these small changes can profoundly impact your health, and you haven't yet, just take a second to click that subscribe button. We truly appreciate you being part of our community, a community dedicated to taking control of our health journey. Your presence here matters. Now let's talk about the company these meats keep, because a villain is often made worse by its accomplices. The third devastating aspect of this breakfast mistake is what these processed meats are almost always paired with. Very rarely is someone eating a few slices of bacon all by itself. Typically, it's served alongside other foods that compound the neurological damage. The most common breakfast partners are refined carbohydrates like white toast, pancakes with syrup, sugary cereals, or hash browns. These foods are stripped of their fiber and nutrients, and they hit your bloodstream like a tidal wave of sugar. This spike in blood sugar is in itself a major driver of inflammation throughout the body and brain. But it gets worse. High blood sugar dramatically accelerates the formation of those toxic AGs we just discussed. Sugar molecules in your blood actually attach to proteins, creating AGs internally without any cooking involved. So, when you eat bacon loaded with nitrates and cooking-induced AGs, alongside a piece of white toast and a glass of orange juice, which creates a massive blood sugar spike that generates more AGs inside your body, you have created a trifecta of brain damage. You are attacking your brain from 3 different angles with one single meal. This combination is particularly destructive to insulin signaling in the brain. We often think of insulin as being related only to diabetes and blood sugar in the body, but your brain uses insulin too. In fact, it's so critical that some scientists have started referring to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes. Proper insulin signaling is vital for memory formation and cognitive function. A diet high in processed meats and refined carbohydrates disrupts this signaling. It leads to insulin resistance in the brain, meaning the brain cells stop responding properly to insulin's message. When this happens, they can't take in the glucose they need for energy. Your brain cells, particularly in memory centers, begin to starve, even in a sea of plenty. This cellular starvation can lead to cell death, brain shrinkage, and the acceleration of memory loss. Think about this scenario for a moment. Imagine your brain cells are tiny houses, and glucose is the delivery of firewood they need to stay warm and functional. Insulin is the mailman who has the key to deliver that firewood. Now imagine you flood the neighborhood with so much junk mail, sugar, and so many disruptive influences, inflammatory compounds from processed meat, that the mailman gets confused and overwhelmed, and the locks on the doors get jammed, insulin resistance. The firewood can't get in, the houses grow cold and dark, and eventually they are abandoned. This is what a breakfast of sausage, eggs, white toast, and juice can do to the neighborhoods in your brain. It's a health time bomb. Arthur didn't just eat bacon, he ate it with 2 pieces of buttered white toast and a tall glass of sweetened iced tea. He thought he was full and satisfied, but his brain was starving for real nutrition and being flooded with inflammatory, stiffening toxins. The combination was silently and steadily dismantling his cognitive world. This is why looking at the whole plate, the entire meal, is so crucial. It's about the synergy. The meat is the primary offender, but its partners in crime make it infinitely more dangerous. Finally, I need to address a common and very misleading trap that many health-conscious seniors fall into. This is the fourth and final piece of this dangerous puzzle, the illusion of healthy processed meats. You've probably seen them in the grocery store. Packages of bacon or sausage labeled uncured, nitrate-free, or no nitrates or nitrites added. These labels seem like a perfect solution. They prey on our desire to make a better choice, but I am here to tell you, with a strong sense of caution, that these are often a marketing gimmick that can be just as harmful, if not more so. Here's the secret the food industry doesn't want you to know. In order to be able to label their product uncured or no nitrates added, manufacturers are not allowed to use synthetic sodium nitrite. Instead, they use natural sources, most commonly celery powder, celery juice, or beet juice. These vegetable powders sound wonderfully healthy, don't they? But these natural sources are often incredibly high in naturally occurring nitrates. The manufacturers then add a bacterial culture to the meat mixture. This bacteria converts the natural nitrates from the celery powder into the exact same chemical, nitrite, that they are claiming is not added. It's a chemical sleight of hand. The end product, the uncured bacon you are buying, can often contain as much or even more nitrite and subsequent nitrosamines than the conventionally cured versions. A report from the Center for Science in the Public Interest confirmed this, finding that these natural versions can be a significant source of these harmful compounds. This is a devastating betrayal of consumer trust. You are paying a premium price for a product you believe is safer, when in reality you are still consuming the very substances that contribute to inflammation and oxidative stress in your brain. Furthermore, these uncured products are still cooked at high temperatures, meaning they still form those damaging AGs. The fundamental problems are not solved. Eleanor, after our first conversation, made a switch. She proudly told me she had thrown out her old sausage and bought the expensive, all-natural, uncured chicken sausage. She thought she had fixed the problem, but her symptoms of brain fog and joint stiffness weren't improving. It was only when we uncovered this celery powder loophole that she understood. She was still feeding her body the same inflammatory compounds, just under a different, friendlier-sounding label. It's a crucial lesson. You have to look beyond the front of the package and understand the process. When it comes to processed breakfast meats, the danger is inherent to the product category itself, not just the specific chemical used in the curing process. So what is the path forward? Where is the hope in all of this? The hope is immense, and it lies in empowerment through knowledge. Now that you understand why this meat is so harmful, you have the power to make a different choice. This isn't about deprivation, it's about a strategic, life-affirming substitution. Protecting your memory isn't about eating less, it's about eating smarter. The most powerful thing you can do is to remove processed breakfast meats from your plate entirely. Banish the bacon, say goodbye to the sausage, and pass on the ham. Instead, let's focus on building a truly brain-boosting breakfast. What does that look like? First, think about high-quality protein. Instead of processed meat, what about a simple pasture-raised egg? Eggs are a wonderful source of choline, a nutrient that is a building block for acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that is essential for memory and learning. Or consider a serving of plain Greek yogurt, which is packed with protein and probiotics that support your gut-brain axis. A healthy gut is linked to a less inflamed brain. You could add a scoop of clean protein powder to a smoothie. Next, load your breakfast with antioxidants to fight that oxidative stress we talked about. This is where fruits and vegetables shine. The most powerful ones for brain health are berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. They are packed with flavonoids that have been shown in numerous studies to protect brain cells and improve communication between them. Add a handful to your yogurt or blend them into a smoothie. Think about adding a side of steamed spinach or avocado to your eggs. The healthy fats in avocado are incredible for your brain, which is made up of about 60% fat. Finally, embrace healthy, fiber-rich carbohydrates. Instead of white toast, choose a bowl of old-fashioned oatmeal. The soluble fiber in oats helps to stabilize your blood sugar, preventing those damaging spikes that accelerate AG formation. It provides a slow, steady release of energy that your brain loves. Sprinkle some walnuts or flax seeds on top for a dose of omega-3 fatty acids, another critical brain fat that has powerful anti-inflammatory effects. A breakfast of a vegetable omelet with a side of berries or a bowl of oatmeal topped with walnuts and blueberries is not a meal of deprivation. It is a delicious, satisfying, and powerful declaration that you are choosing to build a stronger, more resilient brain. It is an act of self-preservation and self-respect. I sincerely hope this conversation has provided you with clarity and some positive steps forward. Taking charge of our health is a journey we take one day, one meal at a time, and staying informed is the most crucial first step. Please consider subscribing if you found this helpful, so we can continue sharing these important health insights with you. Making this change can feel daunting, especially if it means letting go of a lifelong habit. But I want you to do that visualization exercise one more time. Close your eyes, see your future self. A person with clarity, who can recall the names of their grandchildren, who can engage in sharp conversation, who can manage their own affairs with confidence, who feels stable and sure on their feet because their brain is communicating effectively with their body. That person's vitality is worth more than any slice of bacon. That independence is the true prize. We are a community here, and your journey matters. I would love to hear from you. In the comments below, please share one small change you are considering for your breakfast routine. Are you going to try oatmeal, or maybe add some berries to your morning? Sharing your commitment not only helps you, but it inspires and encourages others who are reading. Let us know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions, please ask. We learn from one another, and if this information resonated with you, if you thought of a friend, a sibling, or a spouse who needs to hear this message, please share this video with them. You could be giving them the gift of a healthier future. Thank you for your time and your attention. Be well, and take good care of that beautiful mind of yours.